All right, so as important as supplies is the situation with which you draw. Why is this? Because hopefully you're going to be putting a lot of hours into this, into the act of learning how to draw and drawing in your future as a professional artist. And if you don't do it well, you could potentially hurt yourself. And I'm walking proof of that, you know. As I was telling the crew earlier, you know, I taught in China a few years ago, and I went to a masseuse there, only to find out that I had like permanent damage in my back, in one of my muscles of my back between my scapula and my spine. I don't know if it was my traps or maybe the lower rhomboid, but somewhere in that area. And that's from, you know, 11 years of caricature on an easel with my arm up in the air, plus carrying a lot of weight always on one shoulder, you know, going through art school. So you want to be careful of that, right? So I'm going to go through three different scenarios, three different experiences with you. The first is, you know, if you're in a house or an apartment and you don't have the room to, you know, create an entire space for yourself, you'll probably end up on a table. And there's lots of different products that you can buy for a tabletop experience. One of them is a French easel, which is what you see here in front of us. So this has legs as well. A lot of like plein air painters will go out and use these because you can set up on terrain wherever you want, and it's got different height adjusting and so on. But this is actually fine for drawing as well. So what we don't want, this is what we're trying to prohibit here, is your viewing angle to the surface. This is what I'm getting at. This is one of the first problems. When I was in high school, I remember I used to do these drawings and I could never figure out why something that was circular would become elliptical, right? And it was because of me looking at it on an angle, right? So go figure. So we don't want that to happen. And the best way for that to not happen is to create like 90 degrees, right? So here's the page and this is my eye looking at the page, right? This is what we're looking for. So if I bought a French easel, I would just lift this guy up, right? It's got screws here on the sides, right here and on the other side, right? And I want to try to get that viewing angle to something like this, right? So I'm going to just screw this in here. Screw this guy in here. Okay. And you can see now this angle is more 90 degrees. This is what I want to draw on, right? Something more like this, okay? So that's this experience, all right? And also height-wise, you don't want this to get too high, because if it's too high, and it's almost like my hand wants to be at about the height of my shoulder, if I go higher than that, then I'm using my deltoid like all of the time, and I'm stretching my back muscles, right, to lean into that. So that causes a lot of pain. And you don't want to be too low either, because you go too low and then suddenly you're changing the viewing angle again, right? So there's sort of a sweet spot. You want to be comfortable. You want your arm, you know, you want your arm and your hand about shoulder height. A little higher, a little lower is fine, but you don't want to be all the way up here and you don't want to be all the way down here. Okay, so that's a French easel. There's also, by the way, besides French easels, you can get tabletop easels. It's really just like a piece of wood with a simple wooden frame in the back, and it's got a bar that goes into these different notches, and they're much less expensive than the French easel. Okay, so you can look up tabletop easels as well. So now what we're going to do is let's move over to a regular standing easel. Okay, I'll see you there.
When I found New Masters, it was just like this treasure trove with just this amazing amount of information, the production, the instructors. It was just like the perfect thing.
Every single course taught me something very special. Even the first weeks with Renee, they give you the basic knowledge, which is geometric forms, perspective, the laws of light, and that's amazing because it empowers you from the beginning.